people today. They could spend half their lives over 50. That's a lot of living. So it helps to have a wise friend and fierce defender in your corner. A friend like AARP. So your health lives longer.
This is just slow-mo karate?
Just slow-mo karate.
Your money lives longer.
I just bought that.
I just sold that.
And your happiness lives longer. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Join today.
Welcome to AARP Illinois' virtual event. It's so wonderful to have you with us. AARP is on a mission to connect with individuals across various communities, especially those aged 50 and above. We're here to listen, understand, and address the unique needs of you and your community as we age. Our goal is to enrich your experience by expanding our local activities, providing opportunities for you to discover and engage with all that life has to offer right here in your own community and virtually. As we journey through today's event, we invite you to consider joining our dedicated team of AARP volunteers. It's a chance to make a meaningful impact and help us better serve those 50 plus across the nation. Connect with us and be a part of this vibrant movement toward positive change. Welcome. And let's make this event both fun and transformative.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Scott, Associate State Director for AARP Illinois, and your host for today's special virtual offering. AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan member organization that does not endorse candidates or make contributions to political campaigns or candidates. Its members come from across the political spectrum, and AARP has a long record of making sure that elected officials from both parties address the issues that matter to all Americans 50 and over. Now, today we're thrilled to have Brent Davis, who is the Director of Election Operations for the Illinois State Board of Elections, with us today. Our discussion will revolve around the upcoming elections in Illinois and important information regarding voter registration, voting options, and key dates. But first, here's an important message from AARP.
I can't believe it's really you! Will you take a selfie?
Sorry, kid, I'm just not feeling it anymore. Government is broken. Politicians would rather fight than find common ground.
Mommy, is that true?
I'm afraid it is. But there's an election this fall.
Yeah, but what difference will that make?
A big one! Medicare, Social Security, caregiving, and financial security are all on the line. It's your chance to hold the politicians accountable.
You know what, precocious child? I'm an American over 50. I'm part of the most powerful voting bloc in the nation. We can make those politicians quit their nonsense and get back to work.
Yes!
So take the pledge at aarp.org/vote and learn how your vote can make the politicians quit their fighting and get back to work. Ready?
Now, without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Director Brent Davis. Brent?
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for inviting us to participate today. We appreciate the opportunity to highlight some of the important information pertaining to the upcoming elections. As always, if there are any questions that aren't answered today, Illinois voters and residents are welcome to call our office at 217-782-4141 or visit our website at www.elections.il.gov.
Thank you very much. Again, welcome. Thanks for doing this. And we'll give you some time at the end again to say those again so folks can get a pen and a pencil and write those down. Let's jump right in. Get into some key dates of upcoming elections. I know there's some coming up really quickly. So walk us through the important dates that the voters need to keep in mind.
Absolutely. First off, the main dates would be those of the elections themselves. And we have the general primary election, which is being held on March 19th, 2024, and the general election, which is held on November 5th of 2024. So Those are the two main things. Those are when the primary and the election are held. Beyond that, there are a lot of dates that surround those, such as the deadline to register to vote. This is 27 days before the election. For the primary, that was on February 20th. And for the general election, that will be on October 8th of 2024. If you've missed any of those deadlines, don't worry. It's not a big deal. They're planned. Voters can still utilize grace period registration and voting, which allows you to register and vote at the same time, all the way up to and including on election day. This can be done at really recommend taking care of it as early as possible to avoid longer lines on election day or at the last moment. If you would like to take advantage of that, you can get a list of the locations and the hours that the different facilities or sites are open. You can get that from our website, call our office, or contact your local county clerk or election commissioner to get that information. An important note, while we're speaking about registration, something important to remember is that if you do still need to get registered, you will need 2 forms of identification when you go in to do that. So 2 forms of identification, one of those forms must have your current address that you're registering from. So just an important thing to remember before you head in.
Gotcha. And a lot of what you just mentioned, we're going to dive deeper into here in a few minutes. So let's discuss the various methods that are available for voters in Illinois. Elaborate the options for mail-in voting, early voting, and voting at the polls.
Yeah, are available to voters, and depending upon what is convenient for them, they can take advantage of any of these. So early voting, it begins starting 40 days out from the election and goes up all the way to the day before the election. So early voting for the primary began on February 8th, and it goes through the day before the election, which is March 18th. For the general election, early voting runs from September 26th through November 4th. As you get closer to election day, especially starting 15 days before the election, additional sites open and extended hours begin for many jurisdictions throughout the state. Those locations and hours, again, are available on our website or the website of your local county clerk or board of election commissioners. So that's for early voting. Voting by mail, accessible to anyone as well. You don't have to have an excuse. Illinois is a no excuse state for voting by mail. Voters can apply for a vote by mail ballot up to 90 days preceding the election. So this started at December 20th for the general primary, and for the general election, August 7th is the first date that you can send in your application for a vote by mail ballot. The deadline to apply for one is 5 days before the election. So coming up March 14th for the primary or October 31st for the general election. Many county clerks and boards of election commissioners offer the option to apply for that vote by mail ballot directly through their website. Ballots must be postmarked by election day or returned directly to the county clerk or board of election commissioners by election day. And your options, your third options, are voting on election day. You can go to your polling place the same as you always have been able to. The polls are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if you're unsure of where your polling place is located, you can look that up on our website. There's a polling place tool to look that up, and or give us a call. We're happy to help you track that information down as well. In addition to the polling place, each jurisdiction has a central location. Typically, this is most commonly the county courthouse or wherever the county clerk's office is, where any voter can go and vote at that central location on election day if they're not able to get to their precinct.
Gotcha. Thanks for diving into those. And it's always good to have options, and Illinois has done a really good job of making sure voters have options. So, and kind of going into that, during COVID, the legislature made quite a few changes in how folks can vote. Shed some light on any recent legislation or legislative changes that voters should be aware of?
So there haven't been a lot of major changes, at least in the last year or two, at least when it comes to kind of our procedures on election day or leading up to that. The main one was kind of making permanent that central universal vote center location. And then beyond that, they've also expanded vote by mail access where you can sign up for what's called permanent vote by mail. So someone who votes by mail in every election and they plan to continue doing so, they can sign up to be in this permanent vote by mail status where they will automatically be sent a ballot before every election, and they don't have to remember to keep sending in an application every time. So it's just automatic at that point. They do have to send in an initial application to be put on that status for permanent vote by mail status. So those are the two things that come to mind for me. And again, it's two things that are, again, increasing access and convenience for voters, having that central site in addition to their polling place, and then having the option to sign up for permanent vote by mail status.
Yeah, and I know a lot of our members have utilized that option of the permanent vote by mail. So yeah, thanks for going over those. So let's go into the actual voter registration, because that's obviously a crucial aspect of this whole thing. What are the different ways in how a voter can register in Illinois?
All right, this is another place where it just keeps evolving forward and moving forward, and there are more and more options and ease of access for getting registered. And so several different options exist. And the first is just the old-fashioned completing a paper application and sending it in to the office of your election authority, again, your county clerk or board of election commissioners. So that's the first way. You can print off the application from our website and send that in. Another way is registering online through our website. And you can do this or and registered through the Secretary of State's office, and this will simply pull information from their databases and register you through process. So that's through our website. A third option is registering in person at many state facilities, such as Secretary of State driver's license facilities. So this is one of the most common way that people get registered. And you go in to renew your driver's license or update your driver's license. And during that process, for a lot of people, it will actually automatically register them for future elections as part of that. So that's a third option. Larger jurisdictions offer registration in the polling place on election day. So if you are in a jurisdiction with over 100,000 people, your polling place will have the option to register in person on election day. So you can show up and register and vote all at once. Again, anytime that you're registering in those cases, remember 2 forms of ID. And final option is going to just directly to the county clerk or board of election commissioner's office and registering in person there. So you can do that any day of the year. But if you miss that 27-day registration deadline, which we are in now, your options are fewer. So leading up to the election and during that few weeks leading up, you have just a couple options. Go to the clerk's office, board of election commissioner's office, or if you have in-precinct registration on election day, you could do it there as well.
Right. So, and I don't know how much that is offered in other states, but when I talk to people about voter engagement, I always say in Illinois, it's pretty much never too late to register. So get out there and vote. And the more people that vote, obviously the better it is. So is there any other more aspects, I guess, on the in-person voting day of election that you'd like to throw at us?
So as far as the in-person Really, most of it is going to be the same as it always has been. When it comes to registering in person on election day, the same rules and requirements apply as any other day of the year. You simply go in and you provide your 2 forms of ID. They will register you to vote right then and there. It's an additional step in the process, but it's really not that time consuming. Once that is completed, you go through and vote just like any other voter. If you're coming in on election day and you were not already registered, you don't have to update your registration. It's the same process that it's always been. You check in with the election judges and you go through several steps where you sign the application, they confirm some information. If you've had any changes recently for a move, or you have updated your name or any changes, those can be done. A lot of those can be done in the polling place on election day as well. If you have made any changes and you want to confirm that you'll be able to update those or change them in the polling place, please give us a call and we'll be happy to go through the different scenarios that are kind of dependent upon your individual variables there. So we're happy to look at those and give you some specific instructions for what you will need to do in those cases.
Right. And again, we'll let you give you some time at the end here to offer that phone number again. Let's get into a question I think is primary exclusive, but I'm not sure. And it's party affiliation. What does that mean in the election process as far as you voting?
Absolutely. So in Illinois, when you register to vote, you don't register with one party or another. Your voter registration does not reflect a specific party affiliation. And that's kind of a misconception or a common misconception, because it is a requirement in a lot of states. In Illinois, you can change your party voting preference in a primary every time. You can flip back and forth from election to election. So the general premise here, the general thing that we're looking at for a primary is that we remember it is a party function where we are nominating that party's nominee for the following general election. And we are electing party officials such as precinct committee persons or ward or township committee persons as applicable. So you have to look at the primary as a party function. In Illinois, you do have to declare a party in order to participate in that party. And again, you can pick whichever one you want. You can change from one election cycle to the next. And you just have to remember that you're picking one, that is the party that you're participating in. If you were able to choose a different party, it really undermines that party's process of nominating their strongest candidate. So sometimes people get upset, or that they have to declare a party or disclose that publicly. And the thing that I always encourage them is just to remember that this is a party function where you're picking party nominees. Another important thing here is, I guess, an exception to this rule is that if your ballot or you would be entitled to, if there's a public question on the ballot, I guess where I'm going here, you have one additional option, and that is you can request a nonpartisan ballot. In that case, the only thing that's going to be on your ballot is the public question or public questions. So you're kind of opting out of the primary process, and instead you're just given the public questions, which would have an actual binding effect in this case. So that's the only exception to declaring a party in the primary, though.
That's interesting. I've learned something. That's interesting to know. And let's dive a little bit further into some of these ways of voting. Explain the process for requesting and returning mail-in ballots.
Sure. First, in order to vote by mail, you have to apply for a vote by mail ballot. So the first step is applying for one. This process can start as early as 90 days out before the election. So this is the scenario where you are only requesting a vote by mail ballot for a single election. As I mentioned earlier, there is another option where you're put into permanent status and then you're automatically receiving them for all future elections. But if you're not on that permanent vote by mail status list and you want to vote by mail, you send in an application, and this can be done a couple of ways. There's, again, the old-fashioned way of completing a paper application and sending it in through the mail. And there's also the second option. Many jurisdictions offer the option to apply for a vote by mail ballot directly through their website and transmit that electronically. So you can go to your county clerk or board of election commissioners website, fill in your information, and submit it through the website, and they receive it immediately, and it speeds up this process and makes it go a little bit quicker. You don't have to worry about it arriving on time or being delayed through the mail. So that is your process for applying for it. And again, this can start as early as 90 days before the election and goes up to 5 days preceding the election. So the county clerk or board of election commissioners has to have your application for that vote by mail ballot in their hands 5 days before the election, because that's their deadline to mail any ballots out. After that point, it's too late to send them out in the mail. So there's our time frames, 90 days through 5 days before. Now, when we're talking about the actual ballots being mailed out to the voter, that starts at 40 days preceding the election. So 40 days out, they stick your ballot in the mail, and they're going to send you an envelope that's going to have a few things in it. Inside there is going to be instructions for completing it and all the steps that you need to take. It's going to have your ballot. It is going to have a certification envelope and a return envelope. So you get all that stuff in the mail, you pull it out, you mark your ballot, darken your ovals or your squares as applicable, complete that ballot, and then you put it back inside what's called the certification envelope. And on that certification envelope, there's a place for you to sign where you are attesting that you are the voter who was issued this ballot and that you are eligible to vote in this election. So you complete that part, seal the ballot inside it, and then you stick it back inside the main mailing envelope. And then you then have a couple different options to send it back in. So you can stick it back in the mail. You can drop it off at the county clerk or board of election commissioner's office, or you can, in some cases, some jurisdictions have drop boxes or collection sites. And essentially this is like a big secure bin. It kind of looks like a mail bin sometimes, but you go and you drop your ballot in there, and it's picked up daily by the election authority's office. So several different options. If you have someone else return it on your behalf, there is an option on the outside of that mailing envelope where you list who you are signing that to return it for you, and then you sign off and say that they are authorized to return it on your behalf.
Very good. And I know the drop boxes were really big during COVID, so I took part. I used that, so which was a big change here. So let's get into early voting. How does one find out where their voting location might be?
So early voting, again, it's open to everyone. You don't have to be a certain kind of voter or any type of special status to do that. You simply go to one of the sites that's available. In order to find those sites, they are all listed on our website. For most jurisdictions throughout the state, the main location is that county clerk's office or board of election commissioner's office. And that's especially starting for the first few weeks of early voting. That's where early voting is conducted. The larger jurisdictions will have additional locations throughout the county or the city as applicable. And all of those locations are listed not only on our website, but usually on those that county clerk or board of election commissioners website as well. So it's going to have the dates that they're open and the hours, and they, leading up to those couple weeks before the election, there's extended evening hours, there's weekend hours, any holidays, they're still open. So lots of opportunities depending upon what your schedule is to go and vote in person early.
Gotcha. So I'm going to ask one more question for you, and then I'm going to let you close and then offer your website and phone number would be appreciated again. But let's talk about voting on actual election day. What are the requirements for voting at the poll? Particularly, what do we need to know about voter identification, voting day of?
Sure. So your election day is really not going to be different than it has been in the past. The only things that might be different now is, again, if you need to register on election day, or but your same standard process of going in and checking in with your election judges, signing the application, and being issued the ballot and voting it and putting it in the tabulator. That's the general process that happens. When it comes to your eligibility to vote, if there's any question as to your eligibility, first off, when you go in and you complete your application to vote, the first step for confirming who you are and that you're eligible to vote is a comparison of your signature against the one that is in the registration record. So the judges will have a scanned image of your signature that they compare against the one that you sign on your application. So they look at those, and the test is whether they think that you are the same person as is registered. If you have an elaborate signature that's on file, that's ornate and detailed, and then you sign your application with a little squiggle line, it's going to be difficult for them to confirm through that signature that it's you. So they might ask you questions or ask you for identification in those cases. There are some other cases where you might have to provide identification if you've moved recently, if you've changed your name, several different scenarios that might require you to provide ID. Again, those are kind of like out of the ordinary scenarios, but it might be necessary. So in the event that you do need to provide identification, it's generally two forms of ID that are required. One of those forms has to have your current mailing address that you're registering from. So if you just moved here to Illinois a month ago and you have your old driver's license that has your old address on it, it can still serve as one form because it's showing who you are. If you then have a copy of a lease for residence or a bank statement or a phone bill, or there are a number of other things that can serve as ID, other government documents, a number of things. So that second one just needs to have, or absolutely has to have, the current mailing address that you're registering from. So the new address. And I guess I think those are the main things. If you have any questions about what is valid, what is not valid, if you might be required to provide ID or not, again, you are welcome to contact our office and we can go through exactly what your scenario is and any extra steps that you might need to take in your circumstances.
Very good. And I know you guys have a great office and are always willing to help. So much appreciated. I'm going to wrap up here. I want to give you one more opportunity to give us any additional information or resources. And please, once again, give us that phone number and email. Give me your website again.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of the information that we have discussed here today, all the dates, locations, voting options, etc., are all available on our website. And that website is www.elections, and that's elections with an S. So it's www.elections.il.gov. And if you don't have access to the web or it's not convenient for you, you're also more than welcome to give us a call. And our phone number is 217-782-4141. give us a call. We're happy to look up any of this information for you or provide any locations, the dates and hours, any of that information that you are looking for. We can absolutely assist with helping find that.
Thank you. And thank you and your office. You all do a fantastic job. And I know you help a lot of people get the information they need to vote here in Illinois. So again, very much appreciated all your effort and all your staff's effort. Thanks again, Director, and thank you for all the work that you and your staff does. You do a fantastic job for the state of Illinois, and I know Illinois appreciates you. And thank you once again for viewing this today. We encourage all our viewers to stay informed and exercise their right to vote. For more information and a list of upcoming virtual events, visit our website at aarp.org/il. That's all the time we have for this today. Until next time, thank you very much, and please engage in the democratic process. For AARP Illinois, this is Jeff Scott. Have a great day.